It's Morbin time.
Jared Leto. At this point, his name feels less like an actor and more like a warning label. Every time he's announced for a major franchise, the internet collectively sighs, because right now, Jared Leto is the most expensive gamble in Hollywood. After the $200 million disaster of Tron Heiress, the internet has officially given him a new title, the franchise killer. From the neon ruins of the grid to the It's Morbin Time memes that wouldn't die, Leto has become the common denominator in every blockbuster funeral of the last decade. And now, the newest addition, Masters of the Universe, where he's playing Skeletor. But here's the twist. You won't even see his face, which feels fitting for an actor whose presence seems to erase entire franchises on impact. And for the first time in years, people are actually saying he looks good. But is a cool character design enough to erase a track record of box office poison? We're told Jared Leto is a method genius, a man who sends used condoms to co-stars, stays in a wheelchair between takes, and demands to be called by his character's name 24/7. But when the method starts costing studios hundreds of millions of dollars, we have to ask a dangerous question. Is Jared Leto a dedicated craftsman, or is he just a character actor who's been miscast as a leading man for 10 years straight? Today, we're breaking down the Jared Leto problem, from legitimate Oscar-worthy performances to whatever the hell is happening with his career right now. This is the full story, the good, the bad, and the absolutely baffling. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth. Jared Leto wasn't always a punchline. There was a time when this man was genuinely respected as an actor. Hard to believe now, but it's true. In 1994, he landed a role on the TV show My So-Called Life, playing Jordan Catalano, the mysterious heartthrob that every teenager in the 90s was obsessed with. And yeah, it was a teen drama, but Jared wasn't just playing hot guy who leans against lockers. He brought a vulnerability to Jordan that made the character feel real, complicated, more than just a pretty face. Then came 2000. And this is where Jared Leto proved he had serious range. Requiem for a Dream. If you've seen this movie, you know it's not something you forget. Directed by Darren Aronofsky, it's a brutal, unrelenting look at addiction. And Jared played Harry Goldfarb, a heroin addict spiraling into complete destruction. This performance is devastating. Jared doesn't glamorize addiction. He doesn't make Harry sympathetic in a Hollywood way. He just shows you the slow, painful collapse of a human being. The desperation, the denial, the moments where Harry thinks he's still in control when it's obvious he's not. And the physical commitment was real. He dropped nearly 30 pounds, living on the streets of New York to find the hollow look that makeup can't fake, like someone whose body was eating itself. And in the film's most horrifying moments, when Harry's arm is infected and rotting, Jared sells the agony so completely that it's hard to watch. Critics praise the performance. Audiences were shaken by it. This was the birth of the method Leto we know today, but back then it wasn't the gimmick, it was a revelation. Soon after, he popped up in American Psycho as Paul Allen, the smug, polished embodiment of everything Patrick Bateman despises. It's a small role, but he plays it perfectly. Just enough arrogance, just enough punchability. By the early 2000s, the trajectory was clear. Jared Leto had proven he could do intense drama, psychological horror, and precision supporting roles. He had range, he had credibility, he was on a serious path. And then he disappeared. For years, acting took a back seat as he focused on his band 30 Seconds to Mars. Hollywood faded into the background. Some people thought his acting career was over, that he'd chosen rock stardom over cinema. But in 2013, Jared Leto came back, and he didn't come back quietly. Dallas Buyers Club is the role that changed everything. The film tells a true story of Ron Woodruff, a homophobic electrician diagnosed with HIV in the 1980s. Jared Leto played Rayon, a transgender woman dying of AIDS who becomes Ron's unlikely business partner and emotional anchor. This is the role that gave Jared Leto an Oscar, but more importantly, it's the role that gave him permission. The transformation was terrifying. Leto dropped over 30 pounds, waxed his entire body, and reportedly never broke character for a single second during the 25-day shoot. Even when the director, Jean-Marc Vallée, met him for the first time, he didn't meet Jared, he met Rayon. In any other context, this would be a workplace nightmare, but because the performance was this good, it was called guerrilla acting.
Leto brought a level of humanity to Rayon that sidestepped every Hollywood stereotype. He wasn't a teaching moment for the lead. He was a fully realized human being, with a sense of humor that masked a crushing amount of pain. There's a scene where Rayon visits her father, hoping for acceptance, and is rejected. Jared doesn't overplay it. He lets the heartbreak sit on his face. It's small, controlled, devastating. And that's the key. Jared didn't play Rayon as a performance. He played her as a person. The Academy agreed. In 2014, Jared Leto won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. He wasn't just a rock star anymore. He was a titan. He had reached the summit of the industry. But here's the danger of the blank check. When you win the highest award in the world for being extreme, you start to believe that extreme is the only way to win. Leto walked away from Dallas Buyers Club with the belief that his process was bulletproof. He thought that if he pushed harder, stayed in character longer, and made everyone more uncomfortable, the results would always be legendary. He was ready for the biggest role of his life. He was ready to be the clown prince of crime. He was ready for the Joker. In 2016, Jared Leto was cast as a Joker in Suicide Squad. On paper, this should have been huge. The Joker is one of the most iconic villains in cinema history. Heath Ledger had just won a posthumous Oscar for playing him in The Dark Knight. The bar was high, but Jared had proven he could handle complex, transformative roles. So what did he do? He decided to become the Joker. Full method, and not in a productive way, in the most obnoxious, self-indulgent way possible. This is where the method turned into a parody of itself. We've all heard the stories. The live rat sent to Margot Robbie, the dead pig dropped on a table read, the rumors of used condoms sent to co-stars. Leto wasn't just staying in character, he was holding the production hostage. He demanded to be called Mr. J. He refused to speak to Will Smith as Jared. But here is the professional truth. Method acting is a tool for the actor, not a weapon against a crew. Daniel Day-Lewis does it and delivers masterpieces. But there's a difference between immersing yourself in a character and just being annoying. Jared crossed that line. It felt like he was trying to win the behind-the-scenes documentary before the movie even came out. And then the movie happened. Or rather, about 10 minutes of it. Despite the months of terrorizing his castmates, most of Leto's Joker scenes were cut from the final film anyway. And what was left? It wasn't menacing, it was cringe. It was a Hot Topic fever dream, a tattooed, grill-wearing edgelord who felt like a caricature of a gangster. He wasn't playing the clown prince of crime, he was playing a guy who really wants you to know he's crazy. The damaged tattoo on his forehead became a meme because it was too literal. It was acting with a capital A, and the audience could smell the desperation. This was the turning point. The Leto myth shattered. People started asking the one question an Oscar winner never wants to hear. Is he actually good, or is he just loud? Because Suicide Squad proved that you can lose all the weight and do all the crazy prep in the world, but if the performance lacks a soul, it's just costume play. Jared Leto had officially entered the uncanny valley of acting, where the effort is visible but the humanity is gone. And unfortunately for him, the franchises were just getting started. If Suicide Squad hurt Jared Leto's reputation, Morbius buried it. In 2022, Jared starred in Morbius, a Marvel film about a scientist who becomes a vampire. And this movie didn't just fail, it became one of the most mocked films in recent memory. Not the worst movie ever made, but aggressively boring. The special effects looked unfinished. All of the method quirks were gone, replaced by a performance that felt hollow, lifeless. For an actor who prides himself on transformation, Leto had finally transformed into something the internet couldn't ignore: a punchline. He played Dr. Michael Morbius with all the charisma of someone reading a terms and conditions agreement out loud. But here's where it gets weird. The internet turned Morbius into a meme. People started ironically saying, "It's Morbin time," even though that line isn't even in the movie. They created fake box office numbers claiming Morbius made $1 trillion. It became a joke, a cultural phenomenon for all the wrong reasons. And Sony, somehow thinking the memes meant people actually liked the movie, re-released it in theaters. It bombed again, even worse than the first time. For Jared Leto, this was devastating, because now he wasn't just a bad actor, he was a meme. The guy from the vampire movie nobody liked. He was the face of a corporate comedy of errors, and in the eyes of the public, he was now officially box office poison.
You'd think after Morbius, Jared would take a step back, reevaluate, maybe do an indie drama, something small, something that doesn't require a $200 million budget and franchise expectations. Instead, he doubled down. He signed on for Tron Ares, and in doing so, he turned a pattern into a prophecy. This was supposed to be the redemption arc, the sleek, high-budget resurrection of a cult classic. On paper, it made sense. The Tron franchise has a cult following, it's visually stunning, but then the test screenings happened, and they were reportedly a disaster. Audiences hated it, the studio panicked, and now Tron Ares is sitting on a shelf somewhere gathering dust. Another franchise, another failure, another nail in the Jared Leto franchise destroyer coffin. At this point, the pattern is undeniable. Jared Leto plus big budget franchise equals box office disaster and internet mockery. It's like a formula, a curse even. So what's the final verdict? Is Jared Leto a bad actor, or is he just a victim of a decade of bad choices? The truth is, Jared Leto is a prestige actor trapped in a blockbuster world. He is a man who thrives in the shadows, the dark indie corners of cinema where the method actually matters. But when you take that high-intensity, anti-social process and try to plug it into a $200 million Disney franchise, the system crashes. He's not a franchise destroyer because he's talentless. He's a franchise destroyer because he refuses to play by the rules of the game. He's become a victim of his own success. That 2013 Oscar convinced him that the more he suffered and the more he made his castmates suffer, the better the art would be. But somewhere between Dallas Buyers Club and Tron Ares, the performance was replaced by the gimmick. He stopped trying to move the audience and started trying to impress them with his dedication. And in a world of memes and TikTok, dedication without relatability just looks like a joke. He's no longer an actor, he's an experience that most audiences are tired of paying for. But there is one last card on the table: Skeletor. Playing a literal skull-faced villain in Masters of the Universe might actually be the smartest move he's made in 10 years. Why? Because for once, the extreme fits the material. Skeletor is a caricature. He's loud, he's theatrical, he's literally a skeleton. If Leto can lean into the camp and the fun without the method baggage, he might just pull off the greatest redemption arc in Hollywood history. If Skeletor fails, it's over. The franchise destroyer label becomes permanent. But if it works, we might finally get back the actor we fell in love with 30 years ago. So what do you think? Is Jared Leto a misunderstood genius who's just had a bad run? Or is he officially the most overrated man in Hollywood? Drop your take in the comments. I know you have one. And if you enjoyed this investigation, make sure to subscribe. We're going deep into the craft of the most controversial stars in the business. I'll see you in the next one.